Loaded talk, loaded grok. All right, we're going to go more local with this. I don't know if everyone has these movements, but in Pinellas County and right now in St. Pete, our hometown, there's this Dump Duke movement. It is about seizing the means of production of electricity for the local government in order to turn a private power company into a government-run power company. They say public. They call it a public nonprofit. So, on whatever, I don't know, on Tuesday, I think it was, I joined some city council people and some local mayors and things like that for a tour of the Duke, I guess, headquarters, really. Not corporate headquarters, but like control center for the whole state of Florida. It's located here. There's like two different buildings. One is everything from the substation to the home, or to something close to the home. And the other thing is from power plant to the substation, right? And you tour around. We had different groups. I was with this city council guy, the dude that owns 3 daughters. I heard going into the election, he was a quote unquote nightmare. That dude was chill as hell. He was a really nice guy.
Really?
Yeah, Mike. I don't know. That's the thing. People would go up to him like, "Hello, my name is so-and-so." He go, "Mike." You know, he didn't go councilman, whatever his last name is. But I liked him. I don't know. He was super nice. Anyway, but you go through the system or these different places and you see the systems are in place. And like Duke Energy has full-time meteorologists and they have live screens of like rain and specifically lightning because people are going up in tall poles and all that kind of stuff. And so, and they're doing these like self-healing systems where like they have all the essentially kind of like powers, I don't know, switches, breaker switches kind of thing. And if something happens here, they go, all right, shut off here, run backwards from this thing. So they can open stuff up and try to minimize an outage to maybe 400 people instead of whatever, 4,000 people, which is pretty neat, right? One of the questions I asked during this tour was, how have you been affected by the growth downtown? You know, like a booming population growth. There's giant towers that used to be empty lots, you know, or a parking garage. And they were like, we got to add more of these little power switches so, you know, we can really isolate 400 people, because 400 people is like their magic number of where they like to isolate things down to. And so basically they've been going in and installing more of this stuff underground. And what I didn't ask, because it seemed like beating a dead horse, but you go, interesting. Now, did you have to take out a big loan and get people to vote to approve this? Did you have to sell municipal bonds to get this done? Because right now, our sewage system, run by the government, is so backed up that, like, I don't even know how we keep approving these condo towers. EPA fines are part of our annual budget for when we dump sewage, partially treated, they call it, into Tampa Bay by the beautiful pier. Sometimes we just dump a bunch of dookie in there, and that is our solution. The mayor came to talk to our Kiwanis group, and he was like, well, my solution is, I'm going to ask everybody to add a millage to their property taxes to service, I forget exactly what it was, $1 billion or 100 million, maybe it was 100 million, I forget. Wait. It was like, I think it was $600 million, because that, I remember it being the exact same amount they promised to the Rays in a new stadium. And I thought, why not just use that money? But anyway, I don't get numbers. But anyway, the mayor's talking about how that's his great idea. Let's just raise property taxes to pay for this bond, and we'll get it done. We'll finally get it done, And city council was like, we don't like that idea. And so the mayor's like, And so it's like, what's your idea, city council? And they went, And like what this dude, old Mike, was saying, he's like, the problem is everyone thinks in 4-year things. And so most people just don't want to deal with it. So really what's happening right now is they've jacked up the rates on water because they haven't adjusted rates in like 12 years at all. And so now they're doing a big adjustment 12 years later, just in the name of trying to start things they should have started 12 years ago. All that to say, the government's not doing a great job. When you compare that to what you see at Duke, where they didn't have, like the city didn't have to take out a big loan for them to adjust for incoming populations. They just sort of built it. And it's even crazier on the other side when you look at like power generation going to places. They monitor the price of all power in real time. So it's like, this is how much natural gas costs, this is how much coal costs, this is solar costs. And so they're always switching to the cheapest fuel that they got. And they monitor what other power companies, because power companies sell their excess energy. So they're saying, like, if it costs, $100 to produce a kilowatt, I'm just making up numbers, and then FPL is selling it for $90 a kilowatt, they go, well, we'll just buy it from FPL instead of generating it.
Huh.
Yeah, and so they literally, like, it's like a stock thing. They send
Smart.
and so they send the data off to someone else, because apparently you can't make purchases from the same room because you can manipulate the energy prices and Enron and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's wildly complex. And so our Democratic Socialist councilman, Richie Floyd, was supposed to be on this tour. And then he skipped it. 20 minutes before it, they canceled. They just no-showed, missed the entire tour to see how exceedingly complicated it is what Duke does. Like, it's crazy. Not to mention, to get out to the barrier islands, St. Pete Beach, Treasure Island, all that, they don't generate power on the barrier islands. Like, there's deals with going out to these different places. So the city, logistically, before they could do anything, they'd have to work out deals with providing power to all these barrier islands and towns and stuff like that. And you go, all right, well, how's that going to work? The question is, I don't know, and they don't know either. So although he couldn't make this very informative tour, he could also, just real quick, the Duke systems aren't for sale. So they have to use eminent domain to take the things from them. And although there's no feasibility study, it's $2 billion. That's the price, $2 billion. So how do you get $2 billion? Which is what I asked them. Because, okay, so he couldn't make that, but he made it to the Dump Duke press conference. We're not going to watch it because I was there. It's not worth watching. It's so painful. We'll just, let's just take a look at these people. That guy with the glasses, he's like the head of the project. There's a scruffy hippie looking dude. Oh, that little fella with the sunglasses and that impossible to read sign. That's the head of the Democratic Socialists of America of Pinellas County, I guess. Not very pretty. So the old blonde dude, Philip Seymour Hoffman from Boogie Nights, he had to read his whole speech off of his phone. He lost track at some point after he put his phone away for his closing thing, and he lost track. He had to bring it back out, apologize, and go, hold on. And then one of the last lines was like something about rates going up or something. And you should be ashamed of yourself, or something like that. and Duke, and Duke should be ashamed of itself. It's like, come on, man. You go, Duke should be ashamed of it. I mean, that's But so anyway, that sucked. But this guy in the background, the dude in the suit with the stripes, the light-skinned black fellow, he is Richie Floyd. He is a young man who is running for his second term as a city councilman, and his big project is the Stump Duke deal. So he couldn't make the actual tour of Duke, but he did come out, and it was so cold, for this silly little press conference. All the people you see in frame, that's pretty much everybody. There's a couple more here and there. They are from different organizations. That is not all Dump Duke people. Those are also organizations that are collaborative. There's a progressive religious group or church, I don't know which, but a progressive, religious outfit that had like 4 people. There's a Sierra Club spinoff that had a couple people, and there was Democratic Socialists, of course, and I don't know. They had to get a few groups together in order to get this 22 people out there. They didn't say anything the whole time. They just said Duke's bad, and they charge too much, and we don't like it, and they should charge less. And if we take it over, we could charge less. I looked at their website. The goal, they go, a lot of times when you switch to a publicly owned utility, you can save $100 to $300 a year on your bill. We pay, I think it's 15.6% of our bill is a mix between municipal taxes and a franchise fee, which is also a municipal tax. When they go, all right, Duke, this is the franchise fee you got to pay to us in order to use our streets and stuff. Duke goes, okay, but we got to add that to the bill. They go, we don't care. They go, okay, so no matter what number the city says, we pay for it. So if they want to load, and 15% could be $600 a year. It could be twice their goal of taking over a company, like taking over this whole industry that they don't understand to drive trucks that they're not certified to drive. They can get twice the savings by just not taxing us, not stealing our money. And that's something City Council actually has the power to do because they're about to negotiate the next agreement. We go, how about this? $0 franchise fee, no municipal taxes, save everybody $600 a year. That sounds pretty good to me, and that sounds very doable, but these people don't know about that. So I was there, and I asked them, I should have brought up my video clips because you can't hear my voice on this one, but I asked them, hey, how are we going to pay for the $2 billion? And she goes, oh, most takeovers work with municipal bonds. Okay, how are we going to service that? She goes, and then Richie Floyd's like, just the utility bills. She's like, oh, utility bills. I was like, all right, so we're gonna pay for it. And they go, it's a 30-year bond. It's like, so if everybody buys our bonds, right, then we're paying out an extra $2 billion. It could be up to $2.7 billion we pay in interest for the bondholders. At the same time, we're selling the bonds to try and pay down the loan that we took out, which we probably can't get a $2 billion loan. But if we did, for a 30-year loan, a $2 billion loan, $2 billion loan has interest of about $2.7 billion. So you're talking about spending $4.7 billion unless we're just our bonds are so popular that everybody wants to buy them that we can pay things down quicker. And probably adding something like $150 to our power bill to pay for it. So it's insane. It's this insane thing that I don't understand. That's not even possible. And it's just Richie Floyd's whole plan. And none of these children know anything. These are all very young people. Richie Floyd, he talks about, I was a science teacher, or I was an engineer. I was like, okay. He has 3 years of work experience before he got elected. Split between an aeronautical engineering, like defense contracting position, and a middle school science teacher. And his experience, 3 years of it, as a middle school science teacher and or an engineer for a defense contractor, is how he knows that the city of St. Pete can run its own power company. Now, are there any power companies in the news right now that are run by their local government? Well, that's a great question, Charlie. There sure is. There's a little city called Nashville, Tennessee. And they've just been hit with this crazy snowstorm. Well, they still have over 100,000 people without power with freezing temperatures. But here's the problem. Let's see. They have significantly fewer linemen in the field than a neighboring Middle Tennessee Electric, which had 200,000 fewer outages at the storm's peak. They have 150 fewer linemen than a place that had 200,000 fewer outages. Now, why? Some union members, so lefties, you can't be mad about this. This is your unions. They're saying that they offered their services, and Nashville said, "No thanks, we got it covered." They go, "You sure? We got about 18,000 people leaving North Carolina right now. We can be there today." 18,000 linemen. And they said, "Nah." And one of these guys said, he's like, "Why are we 10 minutes down the road with 2,000 outages when we could be 15 minutes to Nashville and help out with more than 200 broken poles? Union or non-union, they could bring in way more people. You think it would put all hands on deck?" Basically, the thought is they don't want to pay union wages or whatever the negotiated wages are. They're trying to cut costs because they're a nonprofit, public nonprofit. And so I don't know. They are just not bringing in linemen.
So they're going to kill their citizens to save money.
They're going to neglect their citizens. Sorry. But like, okay, and so, it's a freak storm. It's a tough storm. But other parts of Tennessee and like North Carolina's back up. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be in North Carolina. But I don't know which company had people up there. But Duke has a big presence in North Carolina. And I know that when I was on the tour on Tuesday, all their emergency response people had just gotten back from North Carolina. And a lot of those linemen and whatnot are members of the IBEW. So either way, there was 18,000 people, linemen, that were saying, "Just put us in, coach, we're ready." And they said, "Nah, we got it." And so far, they don't have it. Now, we don't get hit with ice storms, really, but we get hurricanes. And I don't know. I don't want to be waiting around because we can't afford to accept the help from our neighbors, up the road. And so while Largo has power and Leelman has power, we're sitting here going, well, he'll be back up one of these days. Anyway, it's a great example that maybe we should let the professionals do their damn job, and seizing the means of production to the state is not always a good thing. I would say that it's never a good thing. And anytime you're talking about eminent domain, you're just talking about stealing things. And stealing's wrong, you commies.